everyone, and welcome to The Citizen Takes the Mic. Today we're talking to Dr. Chetan Sharma, a veterinarian at DCC Animal Hospital in New Delhi. And today we're going to be discussing how to make our cities safer for birds, which is clearly a very, very important conversation to have given the rate of urbanization that we're seeing across our country. Hi, Dr. Chetan. How are you?
Hello, ma'am. I'm good. How are you, ma'am?
Very well. Thank you so much for taking out time from your schedule to join us today, because I think we're discussing something very important, how to make our cities safer for birds and other animals. And in fact, right before this conversation, my brother was taking a photograph of a bird that looked like it was parched, very, very thirsty, on our windowsill because the house next door is being constructed. So just to sort of throw you on the spot, Dr. Chetan, how has our city, how has Delhi and other urban spaces in India, how have they sort of impacted the bird and animal population that calls these spaces home as well?
So basically, thank you so much for inviting me first. I've been living in this city since a long time now. So this is basically urbanization going on, and this urbanization is unorganized urbanization going on, basically. So because of urbanization, we need to accommodate the people, and for that we need to cut the trees, basically deforestation, we can say. And if we are cutting down the trees, that is basically we are removing the natural habitat for all the animals and also birds also. Other than that, if we are getting into the landscape and removing this green cover, we are also restricting the food supply too for all the other animals, not only the fruit bearing trees, but also some of the birds that usually they feed on nectars also. Some of them eat insects also. So all of these things are going on. So urbanization has led to all these things. Also, along with that, water resources are also getting depleted day by day. They are shrinking. So that is like a very major concern, especially in this season, so to say. So all these things are happening in our city.
Which is really worrying because, I mean, of course, urbanization is inevitable. I mean, we can't really make a case saying that, you shouldn't have urbanization. In fact, India is one of the countries which is seeing an increasing level of urbanization as there is migration from rural to urban areas. It's all one way. But Dr. Chetan, I wanted to ask you, like, what can we do as individuals? Let's start with that. As somebody who calls this city home, what can I do at an individual level to begin with to make sure that I'm doing my bit to creating a safe space for the animals that also call the city home?
Okay, so if we'll talk of like only at individual level, then there are few things. There are basically a habit which we can incorporate into our daily lives. First and foremost is the natural habitat, that is trees. For birds also, and for the major environment issue also, that will control the pollution, that will control the airspace, even the water pollution, everything. So first is that. Other than that, second is that we should be more aware of environment, and also we should be a bit sensitive towards other living creatures also. If we are destroying the trees and if we are not able to provide them food, at least we should provide some of food. We should keep what we say is mitti ka bartan, earthen pots on our balcony, on our terrace. If not, then we can hang them on the trees on our neighborhood, put some water, put some grains on them. So these are some small habits which we can do just to make them thrive and coexist with our population. Also, one thing is there that if we are providing them the grains, we should wash them first and then only we should serve them. Okay. Because there are pesticide residues which carries grains are carrying the pesticide residues, and they tend to make their growth, basically diminish their growth, and also affect their fertility too. So okay. Indirectly that is also causing a decrease in population. So these are the few things which we can do. And also, this is like online generation which we are living in right now. So we can just order artificial bird nest, and we can hang them on the trees also. So, these little little things can do a lot of things.
And of course, the larger change can only come from a policy level. So, can you give us an idea of what's lacking as far as urban policy is concerned, in terms of the deforestation that we're seeing, the kind of unregulated construction that we're seeing? Just
Hmm.
give us an idea of what is lacking from like a regulatory policy perspective.
So if it's like a larger picture for policy levels, in that case, what is lacking basically is, I'll talk about the stats. Right now, the Delhi is having, this is like a very recent stat which I'm talking about. It says that Delhi is having 13% of the forest cover right now. So 13% of total area, that's nothing,
Nothing.
uh, so to say. Still, that is happening, but for policy, for like administration level, what they can do is that they can improve the variety of forest. First thing, second, they can improve the quality of forest. Just planting trees of any type of tree doesn't make any sense, and it won't even change the environment, regulate the cycle, the weather cycle, and also won't increase the bird uh, population. So to improve the quality of forest, what do I mean by quality of forest is that there should be a large dense tree along with the canopy tree, could be a medium sized tree, herbs and shrubs, all these things should be there in a good quality forest. First thing. Second thing, whenever we are planning, whenever a policymaker is planning for a very big projects like metros, any commercial space, they are building very big projects, hotels, if anything. If they are cutting down the trees, they should replace it, and they should replace it with like an equally important tree too. Not, they have announced that they will cut 1 lakh trees and they'll grow 1 lakh trees somewhere else, and they are not taking care of that. We all know that 50% of them won't even survive for a month.
Yeah.
So these are the things that need to be covered by at policy level, we can say.
Which is clearly lacking. I mean, it seems to be that, we're seeing just one end of the coin where we're seeing the deforestation, we're seeing the urbanization, and we're not really seeing enough to counter that. I've noticed that, in recent construction, there's a lot of use of reflective glass. And I've really, really wondered, in fact, Dr. Chetan, like, I mean, does that confuse birds? Do they like, sort of like bang into this reflective glass? Um, can you outline whether this increasing use of glass in our urban landscape is also problematic, and to what degree?
Okay, so for glasses, whether it's a reflective glass or a transparent glass, both are causing it's a threat to birds, because if it's even a transparent glass, they won't even to see that.
Okay.
They'll just see through it, and they think that they are seeing something which is inside the glass. So then they got collide into the windows and they get injured. So that's also a thing. And for reflective glasses, what they usually do is they'll see the reflection, and they'll see reflection of sky or even the vegetation, trees, everything like that, and they'll think that it's a tree, and they get collided. For that, what we can do is there are certain bird strips which we can paste it on the glasses. Other than that, this question was asked by to me by one of my juniors, and they came with a solution later on, that what we can do is we can take a highlighter and make any kind of we can use the creativity too in that. We can make certain lines on the windows, and that can be seen by the birds, and these lines has to be like of in any direction, vertical, horizontal, anything.
Okay.
uh, but the space should be around 2 inches, 4 inches, not more than that, so that they can think that this is because they can see through it. So between the lines, they'll not be able to fly through it, so they'll think that it's not the place to go through it. So that is one thing which we can do. And obviously bird strips are there. We can use them also. They can see that, they are able to see that. So yeah, these are the things, but obviously that's like a very big challenge right now, because every construction, every building, they are using these glasses.
I know, and I think that's the thing. It's like for us, like while I was talking to people about this topic, and I grew up in Delhi. I was born in Delhi and I grew up in Delhi. And I remember like in the balcony outside of my, at the balcony, there was a tree outside the balcony and it had menas and parrots and sparrows while I was growing up. And I don't know when was the last time I saw a sparrow in Delhi. I don't know. I can count the number of times I've seen parrots in the city in the last, 10 years. Now, Doctor, I wanted to ask you whether I am imagining the fact that 20, 30 years ago, there was a lot more like diversity as far as birds were concerned. Or is there truth to the fact that the bird populations in our city have dwindled at an alarming rate?
Actually, that's true because if I'll think of 20 years back, I used to wake up with these house sparrows, birds chirping outside my house, and right now there is not even a single bird. So definitely they are I think already gone from our cities. The very dense areas they have already gone, and still you can see those parakeets or some of the pigeons you can still see, but this shrinking of house sparrows especially is very rapid, and it is happening at an alarming rate. And this all is because of just increase in industrialization along with the urbanization, because both of these get hand in hand. uh, they increase the pollution, they'll contaminate the water, they have no option to go for drinking water, and then they tend to go to these contaminated water, drink that, and that causes the decline. And other than that, their as I said earlier, that their fertility, their breeding season, their natural habitat, all of these are also impacted. Even the noise pollution is also impacting their basically their normal behavior along with the breeding behavior. So if they'll not breed, definitely the population will decline.
And in your personal practice as a veterinarian, have you seen a change in like the type of illnesses and the injuries that birds are, and even other animals? Have you seen, is there a direct link to how these illnesses and injuries are playing out as far as our own urbanization is concerned?
For that, I guess the main thing urbanization is leading to is pollution, and that is increasing the overall temperature, which is, you can say, global warming happening, and that is causing a heat stress in birds, especially in birds. If I talk about only birds, the heat stress is so much that they get very weak because they don't get water anywhere, and then they tend to just fall off from the tree. And many of the clients came for like an emergency that bird is not responding. So that is a very major thing which is happening in case of birds. For like other animals, if we are doing fencing on our walls, that is causing them injuries. So that is also one thing which is causing them this injury due to the wires. Other than that, which I just said, is that if water is getting polluted by industrial waste or anything, pesticide or anything, that will cause problems like diarrhea. So these are the some things which is causing illness.
So you are seeing a very direct link between like our urban life and the impact that it's having on birds and other animals. So I think everyone who's tuned in, and the little basic thing that we can do is put some water out. I mean, the temperatures in Delhi are like now soaring, and if
Exactly.
I didn't realize that heat was as crucial as you just outlined, that birds are just like falling off of dehydration and not getting access to clean drinking water. Then one
Hmm.
easy workaround is just putting that little bit of water outside, which is
Yeah.
not difficult for any of us to do. We can all do it. It's an easy thing. But doctor, we've painted such a bleak picture. Honestly, like I had a conversation with another veterinarian about puppies and puppy mills and things like that. And over there, things seemed really difficult, but it was still seeming manageable. It seemed like if there was the right regulation and there was some consumer awareness, there could be a potential solution to the problem over some time. While speaking to you, I don't know, I was already feeling quite dejected about the, urbanization and what's happening to birds, especially in our cities. And I'm actually feeling a little more dejected than I was even when we started this conversation. So I don't know, are you optimistic? I mean, do you think that we have it, we're close to finding some way of like cohabiting these spaces together? Are you at all optimistic, or is it, I don't know, quite dreary and sad?
Okay, so I think I am optimistic. Being in this profession, I have to be optimistic, and also in recent times, I'll say in a decade, there is increase in green space cover. Basically, trees and forest is increasing, especially in Delhi. That is increasing. So I guess now people are getting more and more aware. But right now, what's happening in the city like Delhi is that we are concerned more about puppies. There is no harm in that. There is no wrong in that. But we should be more aware about cats, about birds too. Because what's happening is we are getting these puppies sterilized, but we are not focusing on cat sterilization. But cats too cause the destruction of nests for birds. So for that, and also the NGOs should also focus on birds too, not only on the puppies. I'm very optimistic because I think if we'll be a little bit sensible, uh, uh, we'll be more sensitive towards our the other creatures, living creatures, and towards the environment, then definitely we can coexist with all other living creatures happily.
There's a question in the comments, Doctor, about the bird trade. Kathy has asked us to specifically talk a little bit about the bird trade, and I know our conversation today is largely focused on like birds that freely inhabit our cities, but of course there is a bird trade, and there is, selling birds as even pets. How does that work? I mean, are we seeing things get better in that sphere, or are things getting worse? Is there any regulation as far as the bird trade is concerned?
So you are asking about bird training?
Bird trade. That was the question about buying and selling birds.
Okay, okay. So for bird, I don't think that those people which are selling these birds are keeping these birds in a very hygienic way, because there are certain illness diseases which get infected, which get contagious to birds very easily. So they are not keeping them in a very very good way. So I don't think that's I don't encourage that at all, because birds are meant to be in the sky, not in the cage.
Absolutely.
So yeah, yeah. So that's my
Are
take.
there any laws? I mean, because I remember when I was younger. Now I'm not entirely sure how this works, but are we legally in India allowed to even keep birds? Like, what is the law on that?
Actually, we are not allowed to keep any of the wildlife species. If any of the species which comes under the wildlife, we are not allowed to keep that. But if we are keeping that, we can say parakeets, rose-ringed parakeets, Alexandria parakeets, or if we are keeping sparrows, then it's fine. Then we can keep them.
Okay, so that is
Yeah.
it is still legally, but we of course neither you nor the citizen at all condones keeping birds in cages, because you're absolutely right. They're meant to be free and in our skies and have access to safe spaces and habitats. There's another question. The comment says, "Thank you for mentioning cats. It is a huge challenge to get the community cats spayed and neutered. Are there any tips that you might have for spaying and neutering cats?"
Those NGOs which are working for sterilization, the ABC program, which is happening, run by municipal corporations or by the NGOs, they are also doing the cat sterilization. So they can just catch them, and they can go to the NGO and they'll do the sterilization. And even I think maybe might many of the people won't know that the cat sterilization is even the simplest thing. Uh, Simplest procedure, I can say, a minor procedure if we'll compare it to the a dog castration. So it's a very small minor procedure, and it doesn't require much of attention after the surgery too. So they can do this.
Okay. Okay, I think I just wanted to end with one tiny little observation. When we had the first wave and we had that very intense lockdown where humans were kind of like barricaded indoors, there were a lot of photographs that people were posting of like animals and birds that hadn't been seen in Delhi in 10 years or 20 years, or for a long, long time. People were suddenly seeing them on the streets and in the skies and everything again. Was that a phenomenon that you noticed as well? Did you see that, while we retreated, our animals and birds had a better run of the space that was there? Like, did you see that? Or again, are we imagining these things happening?
No, no. Actually, everyone noticed that, including me. That actually happened because, as you said, that we just gave them their space, which are also need to be shared with them too. So they were in there was increase in population, and you can see the clear sky, the more greener trees, everything was there. So yeah, I saw that, and that was a very, very positive change. And we should go forward keeping that thing in mind.
Yeah, I think that's what gives me a little bit of optimism and hope. I think like the fact that we had, a month of a lockdown and we suddenly saw animals and birds start thriving in such a short span of time, that
Yeah.
makes you realize that nature is very resilient. And if you just take a step back and you give nature that little bit of space to flourish and bloom, then animals and birds and, trees, etc., can thrive. So we just need to introspect a little bit and do our bit and maybe not be so fast-paced and greedy. And hopefully we will have, sort of a newer paradigm where we can all coexist in these spaces. I don't want to hold you. I know you had a surgery, in fact, at 2 p.m., doctor, which you had to reschedule for today's Instagram live. So I'm not going to keep you any longer. I think you've given us some very, very useful tips that we can do at an individual level. I think you have outlined all the policy issues that are there as far as deforestation is concerned and not replanting enough useful trees, like you said. So I think we have a lot that we can take away from this conversation. And I also like to end it on an optimistic note. I wasn't sure whether we would be able to end this topic on an optimistic note, but I think after speaking to you, we can. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.